who's this dude? I've never seen the show Bar Rescue.
It's a great show.
Is it really?
I enjoy it. I think it's basically this guy walks in, Jon Taffer, and a lot of it is what I enjoy is when he gets on management that is like just there because they're a friend of the owner and they're absolutely incompetent and there's actually more competent staff. But I guess Jon Taffer's politics aren't that dynamic that I like from the show.
Well, okay, so he goes in and screams at workers a majority of the time.
Shut it down.
Sort of like that.
Yeah, it's like, think Gordon Ramsey vibes, but apply it to bars, and then he renovates the bars. And I could never have foreseen that his politics were bad. Just kidding. It's like he's the most stereotypical, clear conservative I can think of, but he's loud and he's on TV.
And here he is with Laura Ingraham, basically talking about the way that he perceives people who work in this country.
I'm not an economic professor. If you get $800 a week unemployment benefits and you live with a partner who also is getting $800 a week unemployment benefits, $1,600 a week, Laura, $83,000 a year for that household in unemployment benefits. The median income in America is only $63,000.
Pause it
We're
for 1 second.
incentivizing people to.
I mean, let's just you really got to hand it to two people who are sitting there and their mouths are agape at the idea that a household of two people working full time could make $87,000. Imagine, Laura. Imagine that. How long do you think it takes? This is $87,000 a year. How long for two people living together? I wonder how long it takes for those two people sitting there to accumulate $87,000.
Jon Taffer makes a lot of money on his show, I would imagine. Bar Rescue.
I mean, I can't do the math, but I wouldn't be shocked if those two made $87,000 in the course of a couple of weeks.
I'm trying to find his contract, but I don't think it's public.
One metric is Jon Taffer took $60,000 worth of PPP loans. So
that could almost be enough in their estimation.
And that's not for two people. That's for one guy.
Yeah, right. For a couple.
What is he taking a PPP loan for?
He's got an LLC that I assume does sort of bar stuff. He runs his own bars, I think, too. Or his bar sort of supply stuff, which are often pimped on the show.
Why? I'm just curious. Okay, well, that's good. All right, so let's play this. So let's see.
It gets the worst part is the end.
Income in America is only $63,000. We're incentivizing people to stay home. What if we gave that additional unemployment benefits to employers to incentivize people to go to work?
Well, what if we just cut off the unemployment? I mean, hunger is a pretty powerful thing. I don't mean physical hunger, because people who truly are in need help. I'm talking about people who can work but refuse to work. But the government is literally putting anvils in many ways on people's shoulders, either through the mandates, regulations, and now through free money, which obviously the piper eventually has to be paid. John, I want to ask you though about this idea of work-life balance, because look, no one wants to miss their kids growing up. No one wants to. You stay in the office your whole life. You never see your family. So that's really important. However, have we taken that a step too far when you think of, well, a lot of the millennials talking about, I need time for self-care. I don't know why I'm harping on that tonight, but the whole self-care movement is a little, my mother is not with us anymore, but she worked by the time she was 12 during the Depression. If she heard the self-care thing, I think her head would explode.
I think that's right.
Old
I have
school.
a friend in the military who trains military dogs, Laura, and they only feed a military dog at night because a hungry dog is an obedient dog. Well, if we're not causing people to be hungry to work, then we're providing them with all the meals they need sitting at home. I'm completely with you, Laura. These benefits make absolutely no sense to us. And on top of the impact of not getting employees and not being able to run our businesses, in my industry, we have meat prices are up 10%, chicken prices are up 15%.
Inflation is killing the.
Yeah, so I love how they're pretending that it's not about actual hunger because they know how that sounds. But what is the consequence of cutting off unemployment benefits for people who they've arbitrarily decided. I don't know how you make the decision about who cannot work and who can work, right? But you cut off those benefits, that's going to result in literal hunger, which they know, but they pretend, oh, it's just hungry to work. As I make an analogy about starving a dog, by the way, like shows great morals during the day, and then liken that to a worker.
How many moments before this segment, too, I wonder, was Laura Ingraham talking about the authoritarian nature of requiring masks? But the idea that her guest is talking about disciplining workers like you discipline a dog, like literally you want them to be more obedient, so you do not feed them. You don't feed them. You don't provide stuff for them because you want them to be obedient. How is that not authoritarian?
How is starvation not coercive? How is targeted starvation to dangle food, basically, over somebody's head unless you participate in a workplace that is not necessarily safe due to a deadly pandemic? Like, you can either risk your health or you can risk starving. And then they say this is actually freedom and the part of the free marketplace, and chuckle as they say it, both millionaires many times over.
And here's
at least they said what they felt. It's helpful and instructive, at least, to have that kind of sociopathy on national television and played out like that. Thank you.
They said what they need. These sorts of businesses don't work without the fundamental coercion of laborers. And this has always been the case in capitalism. I want to go back to like the 17th or 18th century. I think Jon Taffer is sort of our modern Enlightenment figure, and Laura Ingraham. Here's Reverend Joseph Townsend, sort of prefigured Malthus, who people are familiar with. He says, "Hunger will tame the fiercest animals. It will teach decency and civility, obedience and subjection to the most perverse. In general, it is only hunger which can spur and goad the poor on to labor. Yet our laws have said they should never hunger. The laws, it must be convinced, have likewise said they shall be compelled to work. But then legal constraint is attended with much trouble, violence, and noise, creates ill will, and never can be productive of good and acceptable service. Whereas hunger is not only peaceable, silent, unremitting pressure, but is the most natural motive to industry and labor. It calls forth the most powerful exertions, and when satisfied by the free bounty of another, lay lasting and sure foundation of goodwill and gratitude. The slave must be compelled to work, but the free man should be left to his own judgment."
There it is. It's nice of them really to lay it out that way.
I mean, it's the through line. That's like the line we're afraid to cross more than the national debt, I think. It's like we don't want to give people too much work that they're not feeling anxious to go back out and work for a local capitalist to try to feed themselves and put a shelter over their head.
And Sam, did you catch what she said about her mom working at 12 years old?
I didn't, but I mean, I'm like, what does Laura Ingraham feel
I don't give a shit. Thank you, Laura Ingraham.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, does she feel bad about herself not working at 12? I mean, it's absurd.
Right. Well, good point. Maybe that's child labor laws are. That's basically, that's coercive, right? Because all these kids, they want to work.
That's really impressive. That guy should be very proud of himself to compare the workers to a dog, so that they be more. That's wow.
Yeah, and in any sane society, his show would get canceled for that kind of comment. But
Oh, I mean, bar owners are going to love him for that.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.